Hey everyone. Tonight, I'm standing on my front porch, the air thick with summer heat, my heart pounding as I clutch a crisp flyer from my law firm. Across the street, my neighbors Karen and Greg sneer from their driveway, their voices carrying that smug, venomous edge I've come to loathe. "You probably live off the government." Karen spits her words, slicing through the quiet cul-de-sac like a blade. My jaw clenches, but I don't respond, not yet. The streetlights flicker on, casting long shadows, and I can feel the eyes of the neighborhood peeking through curtains. You probably wouldn't last a week living next to someone like this. So before you settle in, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe, but only if you actually want more raw stories like this. Drop a comment below. Where are you listening from? And have you ever had a nightmare neighbor? Now take a deep breath, because here's everything you never knew about the war. I survived on my own front lawn. It started 3 months ago when I moved into this quaint suburban neighborhood, lured by promises of friendly faces and quiet evenings. I'm a lawyer, mid-30s single, and I bought this house with every penny of my savings, a modest 2-story with a small garden I planned to nurture. The first week was bliss birds, chirping kids, biking the smell of fresh-cut grass. Then I met Karen and Greg. They lived directly across from me, their house, a garish McMansion with tacky lawn gnomes and a perpetually barking dog. At first it was small things, glances that lingered too long, muttered comments about my tiny house. I brushed it off. People can be territorial, right? But then came the block party. It was a humid Saturday, the kind where sweat beads on your forehead the second you step outside. The neighborhood had set up tables in the cul-de-sac, potluck dishes, lemonade, laughter. I brought my mom's famous cornbread, hoping to make a good impression. Karen, in a neon pink sundress, sauntered over her perfume, choking the air. "Oh, you made this," she said, poking my cornbread like it was roadkill. "Guess you've got time to cook when you're not working." Her smirk was a challenge, and Greg, lounging nearby with a beer, chuckled. The other neighbors went quiet, forks pausing mid-bite. My cheeks burned, but I forced a smile. "I'm a lawyer," I said evenly. "Keeps me busy." Karen raised an eyebrow. "Sure, honey. Bet you're real busy." I should have called her out right there, but I didn't. I'm not confrontational by nature. Years in court taught me to pick my battles. Instead, I stewed. Every night that week, I'd lie awake replaying her words, the way her voice dripped with condescension. "Live off the government." The assumption stung not just because it was wrong, but because it was meant to humiliate me. I'd worked my ass off to get where I am, late nights studying, clerking, building my practice. And now this woman, who probably hadn't worked a day in her life, thought she could reduce me to a stereotype. The breaking point came a week later. I was watering my roses, my one escape after long days at the office, when Karen's voice cut through the evening. "You know, Greg, some people just don't belong in a nice neighborhood like this." She was loud, deliberate, standing on her porch with a wine glass staring right at me. Greg laughed, and their dog yipped like it was in on the joke. My hose slipped, soaking my shoes, and something snapped. I wasn't going to be their punching bag. I marched inside, my pulse racing, and dug through my briefcase. There it was, a glossy flyer from my law firm, my name in bold under partner. I'd just made partner after years of grinding cases. One client saved a reputation built on precision. The flyer screamed success, legitimacy, everything Karen's snide comment tried to erase. I grabbed an envelope, scrawled their address, and hesitated. Was this petty, maybe? But it felt right. I stomped to their mailbox, the metal slot creaking as I shoved the flyer inside. Let them choke on it. The next morning, I woke to Karen's shriek. "What the hell is this?" She stood in her driveway, waving the flyer like it was a bomb. Greg snatched it, his face reddening as he read. I sipped my coffee on my porch, pretending to scroll my phone, but my heart was a drum. Karen's eyes locked on me, and for the first time, I saw uncertainty flicker across her face. "You think this changes anything?" she yelled, but her voice cracked. I didn't answer, just raised my mug in a mock toast. That moment shifted something in me. I wasn't just defending my pride anymore. I was declaring war. Karen and Greg thought they could bully me, shame me, make me feel small. They had no idea who they were dealing with. I wasn't some pushover living off handouts. I was a fighter, and I'd make them regret ever crossing me. But this was only the beginning. Their next move would be uglier, and I'd need to be ready. The morning after I sent that flyer, the air feels different, thicker, like the neighborhood itself is holding its breath. I'm out back sipping coffee, trying to enjoy the quiet of my small backyard, when a foul stench hits me. It's sharp, rancid, cutting through the scent of my blooming roses. I set my mug down and scan the yard. There, near the base of my wooden fence, lies a pile of dog crap smeared deliberately across the grass. My stomach churns, not just from the smell, but from the audacity. Karen and Greg's Mutt, that yappy terrier, is the only dog on the block that roams free. This isn't an accident, it's a message. I grab a shovel, my hands shaking with rage, and scoop the mess into a bag. The sun's barely up, but sweat beads on my neck as I march to their front door. Their McMansion looms, its tacky gnomes grinning like they're in on the joke. I pound on the door, the bag dangling from my other hand. Karen answers her hair in rollers, a smirk already curling her lips. "What's this about?" she drawls, eyeing the bag. I thrust it forward. "Your dog shit was in my yard. Keep it on a leash." Her eyes narrow, but she doesn't flinch. "Prove it," she says, crossing her arms. Greg appears behind her, chuckling. "Maybe you shouldn't be so sensitive, lawyer lady." I want to scream to dump the bag on their pristine porch, but I know better. They're baiting me. I drop the bag at their feet and walk away, their laughter burning my ears. Back home, I pace my kitchen, the linoleum cold under my bare feet. That pile of feces wasn't just gross, it was a violation, a middle finger to my existence here. I've dealt with bullies before in courtrooms and boardrooms, but this is personal. They're trying to run me out to make me feel like I don't belong. But I'm not some tenant they can intimidate. I own this house, this land, this life. I won't let them win. By noon, I'm on my laptop ordering security cameras. Not the cheap kind, high-definition motion-activated with night vision. I spend the afternoon installing them myself, balancing on a ladder, drilling into the eaves of my house. The cameras cover every angle front yard, back even the alley where Greg sometimes sneaks a smoke. I'm not just protecting my property. I'm building an arsenal. If they pull this again, I'll have proof, and I'll use it to bury them. That night, I barely sleep. Every creak of the house, every distant bark sets my nerves on edge. I keep picturing Karen's smirk, Greg's lazy chuckle, the way they think they're untouchable. At 3 a.m., I'm jolted awake by a thud against the fence. I bolt upright, heart racing, and check the camera feed on my phone. There, in grainy black and white, is Greg tossing another pile of dog waste over the fence. He glances around, oblivious to the camera's red glow, and slinks back to his house. My blood boils, but a grim smile tugs at my lips. Got you. The next morning, I download the footage and watch it on loop, each frame fueling my resolve. I could confront them again, but that's what they want, a screaming match they can spin to make me look unhinged. Instead, I print stills from the video, clear shots of Greg's face, the act, the timestamp. I slide them into an envelope with a note. Next time I'm calling animal control. Leash your dog. I don't sign it. I don't need to. I slip the envelope into their mailbox under the cover of dusk. The neighborhood's silent, except for the hum of cicadas. Hours later, I hear Karen's voice, shrill and panicked, from across the street. "Greg, What the hell did you do? I peek through my blinds. She's waving the photos, her face pale, while Greg stammers red-faced. For the first time, they look rattled, like they've underestimated me. I lean back, savoring the moment. This is more than a win, it's a shift. They thought they could disgust me, degrade me, but I've turned their petty stunt into my weapon. But I'm not naive. Karen and Greg won't stop here. People like them don't back down, they double down. I'm ready, though. Those cameras are rolling and I'm already planning my next move. If they want a war, I'll give them one they'll never forget. Remember that flyer I sent? That was just a warning shot. What comes next will hit harder. Oh. The neighborhood feels like a pressure cooker now, the tension simmering since I slipped those photos into Karen and Greg's mailbox. I'm on edge, checking my camera feeds daily, waiting for their next move. It comes faster than I expect an email from the HOA subject line, urgent meeting, property compliance. My stomach twists as I read the notice. Karen and Greg have lodged a complaint claiming my unkempt yard and illegal cameras violate community standards. It's a lie, a blatant attempt to paint me as the problem. I lean back in my kitchen chair, the fluorescent light buzzing overhead, and feel a spark of fury. They want to play dirty. I'll show them what dirty looks like. The HOA meeting is set for Thursday night at the community center, a bland building with flickering fluorescent lights and folding chairs. I spend the days leading up to it preparing like I'm heading into court. I pull my property records, city ordinances, even the HOA bylaws, every page a weapon. I also dig into Karen and Greg's violations. My cameras caught more than just their dog poop stunt, their garbage cans left out past pickup, their unpermitted deck extension, their dog running loose without tags. I compile it all into a folder, each document crisp-tabbed, ready to strike. Thursday arrives, and I walk into the community center with my head high, my folder tucked under my arm. The room smells of stale coffee and cheap air freshener. About 20 neighbors sit in a semicircle, whispering, their eyes darting to me. Karen and Greg are front and center, dressed like they're auditioning for a country club. Karen in a blazer, Greg in a polo. The HOA president, a nervous guy named Ted, clears his throat and starts the meeting. We're here to address concerns about 214 Oak Street, he says, glancing at me. My house, my home. Karen stands, her voice syrupy with fake concern. We just want a nice neighborhood, she says, clutching her pearls, literal pearls. Her yard is a mess, weeds everywhere, and those cameras? They're an invasion of privacy. Greg nods, adding, she's lowering property values. The lies are so bold, so rehearsed, I almost laugh. A few neighbors murmur agreement and my chest tightens. Are they buying this? I scan the room, catching wary glances. Ted asks if I have a response, and I rise my heels, clicking on the linoleum. I'm disappointed. I start my voice steady lawyer mode on. Not in the complaint, but in the dishonesty. I open my folder and hold up a photo of my yard manicured roses blooming not a weed in sight. This is 214 Oak Street, taken yesterday. Does this look unkempt? The room shifts, whispers growing. Karen's smile falters. I pivot. As for the cameras, they're legal per city code, 12.4, and they're on my property. But since we're talking violations, I pull out another photo, this one of their trash cans blocking the sidewalk for days. This is 216 Oak Street. HOA Rule 7B bins must be stored within 24 hours. They've been out for a week. The room erupts in gasps. Karen sputters, but I'm not done. I slap down a photo of their deck built without a permit and a city report I pulled confirming it. This violates Municipal Code 45.2, I say, my voice rising. And their dog, no tags, no leash, terrorizing the block. I play a clip from my camera on my phone, Greg tossing poop over my fence. The neighbors gape some, covering their mouths. Ted's face is beet red. Karen screams. That's edited, but no one's listening. Greg grabs her arm, whispering furiously, but the damage is done. I sit, my pulse pounding, as Ted stammers through a call for order. The neighbors turn on Karen and Greg, peppering them with questions. "You built that deck without a permit. Your dog did what I—" Lean back, letting the chaos unfold. Ted slaps a fine on them, $500 for the deck alone, and schedules an inspection. Karen glares at me, her eyes venomous, but I meet her stare. For the first time, I see fear behind her rage. As I walk home under the streetlights, the night air cool against my skin, I feel taller, stronger. Exposing their lies wasn't just a win, it was a turning point. They thought they could gang up on me, use the HOA to shame me, but I flipped the script. I'm not the outsider anymore. They are. But I know them too well to think this is over. People like Karen and Greg don't slink away, they lash out. I need to be ready for what's coming, because this war is far from won. The fallout from the HOA meeting carries me for days, a quiet thrill, every time I pass Karen and Greg's house and see their deck untouched, their trash cans hastily tucked away. But the victory is short-lived. It's Friday night, and I'm in bed, the clock glowing 11:47 p.m. when a bass line thumps through my walls, laughter shouting the clink of bottles. It's coming from across the street. I pull my pillow over my head, but the noise is relentless, vibrating in my chest. Karen and Greg are throwing a party, and it's no coincidence it started after their HOA humiliation. This is retaliation, loud and deliberate, a middle finger to my sleep, my sanity, my life. I stumble to my window, the curtains cool against my fingers, and peer out. Their front yard is a circus string, lights a keg, maybe 30 people spilling onto the lawn. Karen's voice cuts through shrill and slurred, egging someone on to chug it. Greg's manning a speaker, cranking the volume higher. My eyes burn from exhaustion. I've got a deposition at 8 a.m. tomorrow, and rage bubbles up hot and sharp. Remember when they threw dog poop over my fence? That was nothing compared to this. They're not just annoying me, they're trying to break me. I try noise-canceling headphones, but the bass seeps through. By 1 a.m., I'm pacing my living room, the hardwood creaking under my bare feet, my phone in hand. I could bang on their door, but I know how that'd go. Karen's fake apologies, Greg's smug grin, maybe a neighbor snapping a video to make me look like the crazy one. Instead, I open my laptop and pull up the city's non-emergency line. The noise ordinance kicks in at 10 p.m. They're way past that. I hesitate, my finger hovering over the call button. Am I escalating too far? But then a bottle shatters across the street, followed by a roar of laughter, and I dial. The operator is calm, efficient. Address? I give it, my voice tight. They've been at it for hours. It's a disturbance. She promises to send a patrol. I hang up, my heart racing, and watch from my window, the streetlights casting long shadows. At 2:15 a.m., 2 police cruisers roll up, silent but menacing, their lights flashing red and blue across the cul-de-sac. The music cuts off like a snapped wire. Partygoers scatter, some tripping over lawn chairs, others ducking behind bushes. Karen's voice rises, panicked. This is our property, but the cops aren't having it. I crack my window to hear better. The night air sharp with the scent of spilled beer. An officer, broad-shouldered and unimpressed, is talking to Greg, who's gesturing wildly. Karen's clutching her phone, probably trying to record, but another cop tells her to put it down. Then the climax, a third officer emerges from their backyard holding a small baggie. My breath catches. Drugs. The crowd murmurs, neighbors now peeking from their porches. Greg's face goes white, and Karen starts yelling, "That's not ours!" But the cops cuff them both, leading them to a cruiser. The party's over, and the street falls silent, save for the crackle of police radios. I should feel triumphant, but my stomach twists. Did I just trigger a drug bust? I only wanted the noise to stop. By morning, my cameras catch neighbors whispering, pointing at Karen and Greg's house. I check X, local posts are buzzing bust at 2:16. Oak. Anyone know what happened? I don't comment, but I save screenshots. At work, I'm distracted replaying the raid, wondering if I've crossed a line. But then, I remember the sleepless nights, the dog poop, the HOA lies. They brought this on themselves. That evening, I spot Karen and Greg pulling into their driveway. No cuffs, no charges, at least not yet. Karen's face is puffy, her eyes red, and Greg slams the car door hard enough to rattle the windows. They don't look at my house, but I know they're seething. I sit on my porch, sipping tea, the quiet, almost eerie after last night's chaos. This wasn't just a win, it was a detonation. I've shaken their foundation, shown them I'm not invisible. But I'm not naive. People like them don't learn, they plot. I check my cameras, the red lights blinking steadily, and brace for what's next. The fallout from the police raid lingers like a bad smell, the neighborhood quieter, but tense, as if everyone's waiting for the next explosion. I'm on my couch, scrolling through case files when my phone pings with an email from the city's code enforcement office. My heart sinks as I read a complaint has been filed against my property, alleging an unauthorized structure in my backyard. The notice demands an inspection next week. I bolt upright, my laptop sliding to the floor. There's no structure in my yard, just my roses, a small patio, and the cameras. This is Karen and Greg striking back after their party bust, trying to bury me in red tape. Their audacity lights a fire in my chest, but I'm not scared, I'm furious. I pace my kitchen, the linoleum cool under my feet, and piece it together. They're banking on me, panicking, maybe tearing down something in a rush, or missing the inspection. But they don't know who they're dealing with. I'm a lawyer, not some pushover they can bully with fake complaints. I grab my legal pad and start planning the pen scratching furiously. First, I pull my property records, every permit, every survey, all clean. Then I check the complaint's details. It claims I built a shed without approval. I laugh, sharp and bitter. My backyard's open as a book visible from the street. This lie is so flimsy, it's almost insulting. The inspection is set for Tuesday, but I'm not waiting to play defense. I call the code enforcement office, my voice calm but firm, and request the complainant's identity. They can't disclose it, but the clerk lets slip it's a neighbor. I don't need more. Karen's shrill voice practically echoes in the email's wording. I spend the weekend preparing my dining table, a war room of documents, photos, and city codes. My cameras show nothing suspicious, just Karen glaring from her porch, her phone pressed to her ear. Plotting, no doubt. Tuesday morning, the inspector arrives, a tired man in a polo shirt, clipboard in hand. I greet him at my gate, coffee in hand, all smiles. "Let's clear this up," I say, leading him to the backyard. He glances around, roses in bloom, patio pristine, no shed in sight. "This the structure?" he asks, eyebrow raised. I shake my head. "There's nothing here. Someone's wasting your time." I hand him my permits, my survey, a photo of the yard time-stamped yesterday. He nods, jotting notes, and mutters, "Seen this before." Vendettas. My pulse quickens. He knows it's bullshit. But I'm not stopping at defense. I ask him to wait and fetch my folder from the HOA meeting, Karen and Greg's violations, their unpermitted deck, their trash cans. "While you're here, I say you might want to check 216 Oak Street. They've got real issues." He takes the folder, promising to look into it, and leaves. I exhale, but the fight's not over. Karen and Greg need to know they can't pull this crap, and walk away. That night, I draft a letter, my lawyer hat on, addressed to the neighborhood listserv. It's public, but professional, titled Clarification on 214 Oak Street. I detail the false complaint, the inspection's outcome, and my compliance with all codes. Then I pivot. Unfortunately, this appears to be a pattern of harassment. The same neighbors have violated HOA and city rules, including an unpermitted deck and animal control issues. I attach photos, Greg tossing dog poop their trash cans out their deck. I hit send, my heart pounding, knowing this'll spread like wildfire. By morning, my inbox is flooded. Neighbors reply, all outraged. This is unacceptable. We need accountability. Karen responds a frantic email claiming I'm defaming them, but it's too late. The thread explodes with others piling on about their dog, their noise, their arrogance. At noon, I spot a code enforcement van at their house, the same inspector from yesterday measuring their deck. Karen's on her porch arms flailing while Greg hides inside. I sip tea on my stoop, the sun warm on my face, and feel a rush of power. My rebuttal didn't just clear my name, it turned their weapon against them. This moment changes me. I'm not just surviving their attacks, I'm dismantling their credibility. Remember the flyer I sent? That was a spark. This is a blaze. They thought they could hide behind a fake complaint, but I've exposed them to the whole block. Yet I know they're not done. People like Karen and Greg don't retreat, they escalate. I check my cameras, the feeds crisp and ready, and brace for their next swing. The neighborhood feels like a battlefield now, every glance from a neighbor charged with suspicion or support after my listserv takedown. I'm in my backyard, kneeling among my roses, when I notice something wrong. The petals are crushed stems, snapped soil churned like a war zone. My garden, my sanctuary where I've poured hours of care, is ruined. I stand dirt smudging my jeans and spot a trail of footprints leading to the fence. Their large, deliberate ending at a gap where a board's been pried loose. My blood runs cold. Karen and Greg. This isn't just petty, it's personal, a knife to the one thing I love most about this house. I grab my phone, hands trembling, and check the camera feed. At 2:34 a.m., there's Greg hooded sneaking through the gap with a shovel. He hacks at my roses, methodical, vicious, then slips back to his side. The footage is clear, his face unmistakable under the moonlight. My rage is a wildfire, but I choke it down. Confronting them now would be what they want me, unhinged, screaming, giving them ammo to call me unstable. Instead, I sit at my kitchen table, the scent of coffee grounding me, and plot. They've crossed a line, and I'm going to make them pay, not with fists, but with something sharper than neighborhood's wrath. I start by documenting everything. I photograph the ruined garden, the footprints, the broken fence. I save the video, burning it to a USB for good measure. Then I draft a petition, my lawyer's precision in every word. We, the residents of Oak Street, demand accountability for ongoing harassment, property damage, and violations by 216 Oak Street. I list their sins: dog poop noise the deck, and now this. I print copies, my printer humming late into the night, and plan my move. The neighborhood's already buzzing from the listserv. I just need to channel that anger. The next morning, I go door to door, my folder of evidence in hand. The air's crisp, the cul-de-sac quiet, except for the distant bark of their dog. At 212 Oak, Mrs. Nguyen, a retiree who's always been kind, gasps at the photos. They did this, she asks, signing the petition without hesitation. At 218, the Patels, whose kids avoid Karen's dog, add their names, furious about the deck's impact on property values. By noon, I've got 12 signatures, half the block. Each door feels like a small victory, a brick in the wall I'm building around Karen and Greg. But I need more than signatures. I call a neighbor, Tom, who's on the HOA board and hates Greg's loud truck. Over coffee at his place, I show him the video. His jaw tightens. This is vandalism, he says, promising to push the petition at the next HOA meeting. I also email the city's property crime unit attaching the footage and a formal complaint. The officer replies within hours they'll investigate, but it's a misdemeanor unless damages exceed $1,000. I get a quote from a landscaper, $1,200 to restore my garden. Checkmate. The climax comes at the HOA meeting a week later. The community centers packed the air thick with tension. Tom presents the petition, reading it aloud, as Karen and Greg sit in the front row, their faces tight. I stand holding my phone and play the video on a projector. Greg's shovel flashes on the screen, my roses falling. The room erupts, gasps, shouts, a neighbor yelling, "How dare you!" Karen leaps up screaming. That's not him, but the crowd drowns her out. Greg's silent head bowed, as if he knows they're done. The HOA president slaps them with a $1,000 fine for vandalism and demands they repair my fence. Neighbors clap, a few even cheering for me. As I walk home, the stars sharp above, I feel a shift. My garden's gone, but I've turned their cruelty into my strength. The petition didn't just hurt their reputation, it united the block against them. I'm not alone anymore. They are. Remember the listserv email? That was a warning. This is a reckoning, but I know Karen and Greg too well to think they'll surrender. They're cornered, and cornered animals bite. I check my cameras, their red lights steady, and steel myself for what's next. The neighborhood's still buzzing from the HOA meeting. My petition, a spark that set the block ablaze with whispers and side-eyes aimed at Karen and Greg's shuttered McMansion. I'm in my living room, the late afternoon sun slanting through the blinds when my phone lights up with notifications. A neighbor's tagged me in a post on the local Facebook group. My stomach twists as I click. It's Karen, her profile picture all smiles and pearls, but her words are venom. Beware of 214 Oak Street. She's a liar, a troublemaker filming everyone trying to ruin our community. There's a blurry photo of my house. My camera's circled in red and comments piling up. Some defending me, but others biting. Who does she think she is? Typical city type. Greg's chimed in, calling me unhinged. My hands shake rage and betrayal mixing like a storm. This is their counterattack, a public smear to claw back their power. I pace the room, the hardwood creaking under my feet, the air heavy with the scent of my coffee gone cold. They're not just attacking my character. They're trying to turn the neighborhood against me to make me the villain. Remember when they trashed my garden? That was personal, but this is war on a new front, my reputation. I could ignore it, let it fizzle, but that's not me. I'm a lawyer. I fight with evidence, and I'm done playing defense. I sit at my desk, the glow of my laptop harsh against the dusk, and start gathering ammo. I screenshot Karen's post, Greg's comments, every nasty reply. I pull clips from my cameras, Greg tossing dog poop, him wrecking my roses, their illegal deck. I dig up the HOA fines, the code enforcement notice, even the police report from their party bust. Then I craft my response, every word, sharp, deliberate, like a closing argument. I've stayed quiet long enough, I write. Here's the truth about 216 Oak Street's harassment. I attach the videos, photos, documents, irrefutable proof, and post it to the group, my heart pounding as I hit share. Within minutes, the post explodes. Notifications flood my phone like shares, comments. This is disgusting. Thank you for exposing them. Neighbors I've barely met chime in, recounting their own run-ins with Karen's snide remarks. Greg's loose dog. By morning, my post has 200 shares spreading beyond the neighborhood to local X accounts. A stranger tweets, "This is why I left the suburbs, toxic neighbors like these." My chest swells with a mix of pride and relief. I'm not just clearing my name. I'm rewriting the narrative. But the climax comes at noon. I'm sipping tea on my porch when Karen's car screeches into their driveway. She storms out, phone in hand, screaming at Greg, who's trailing behind. "You said no one would see that video," she shrieks, her voice